So, the next speaker, Leslie Sawyer, she's very public, very much connecting these values that we need in a very tangible, practical way. She is a representative of Moms for Liberty for the California Legislative Committee, doing high-level stuff. We need to make it happen tangibly in our society, and really work on that level, and of course grassroots, as we just heard from Lisa. So I want to invite right now Leslie Sawyer to share with us. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for being here. I never worry about the size of group when I attend something, because I know that it is not the size of the group, but it's the size of the people's hearts that are in the room, right? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I got involved and why I got involved, and that'll tell you why I'm not worried about that. We had a small group in Shasta County, that's where I live, that decided we are not going to continue to see our kids masked, and the threat of a COVID vaccine requirement to our kids to attend school was not going to happen on our watch. There was about 5 or 6 of us that formed a committee. We became a small little group, and we decided, come heck or high water, we're going to stop this. And we hosted a school walkout where we had 46% of our counties stay home. We then continued after that, thinking we didn't make a big enough impact. We're going to keep going, we're going to keep going, we're going to keep going. And we hosted weekly meetings, we hosted event after event. Finally, we got to the point where our local superintendent of schools, who's in charge of the 26 districts in our area, decided she was going to have a meeting with all the superintendents, and we were not going to be welcome. None of the public was going to be welcome. It would be the president of each board. It was going to be a closed meeting, no press, no public, no video, anything. We were entitled to the agenda, to which she had an insert that said, conservative parents are a threat to education. We knew we were over the target. In that meeting, they wrote a letter to the Capitol. Under duress, we inform you that 46% plus of our community will pull their kids from public education if we move forward with the COVID vaccination. That circled the Capitol. We came out of that meeting, came from that meeting. We had insiders in there that gave us the information, and we were pissed. We were devastated. We were defeated. Under duress? Are you kidding me? We're like a 70% conservative county. Why are our superintendents under duress, right? They are not representing us, the parents, the majority of the population. And we felt so defeated. We were devastated. We then found out later, about a year and a half later, when a national news coverage put out an interview, that our letter sent by our superintendent circulated the Capitol building, and that is what stopped the mandatory COVID vaccination requirement in the state of California, was that one letter. So we joined Moms for Liberty because they already had all of the tools. We were reinventing the wheel. Like I said, there were 5 or 6 of us. We were on our county GOP. We were watching all of the board meetings. We were watching the city councils. We were trying to be involved in every part of government and reinventing the wheel as we went. We realized Moms for Liberty had all the tools for us. So we joined Moms for Liberty. But that same group, small group of people, is doing everything in the community, which is why a small audience doesn't scare me, because a small group can take over an entire state, right? Because those are the doers. Those are the people who are going to go out and spread the message, that are going to ignite others, that are going to get others involved. We then started electing school board members, passing policy, and realized the state was going to try to defeat us every single time. We passed a parental rights notification policy at our local school board. Other school boards did it as well, including the one that Sonia Shaw, who is running for Superintendent of Public Education for the state of California, was on. And the state came back with AB 1955, which made it to where you could not notify the parents if your child was medically and physically transitioning at school. So they kept telling us, no, there's no such thing as a secret file. Even this law is there's no such thing as a secret file. Parents always have rights, when in fact they were creating a law to make sure we had no rights. So we are actually in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals fighting that law, and I am one of the plaintiffs on that, along with Sonia Shaw, who is our hopefully future Superintendent of Public Education for the state of California. And that told us we had to get involved at the state level. All of the other, well, not all, there was 22 chapters throughout the United States that had what are called legislative committees. It is a subsection of Moms for Liberty, and they fight legislation at the state level. We make ourselves known to the bill makers, the lawmakers. We make ourselves known to every elected official, and we start trying to influence policy. We are lobbyists, and I know that that sounds like a really terrible term, and my entire life, I was raised on Rush Limbaugh, I was told to hate lobbyists. There is a good time to be a lobbyist, and if they're not going to stop being lobbyists, we need to start being them. We need to start advocating for our rights and our freedoms, or we will have none. So, across the U.S., Moms for Liberty's legislative committees have passed 57 bills into law. They've had 28 new Moms for Liberty chapters in this last year open, 32 new seated board members in this very last election, with hundreds more coming in 2026. They handed out over 200,000 pocket constitutions to middle schoolers, and we've been given a seat at the table with the Trump administration, the Education Department, and MAHA. And that taught us that if we can have seats at the table at the highest levels in our country, locally, if there's not a seat, we're going to start bringing our own. So we have been inspired to take the law into our own hands, start making ourselves known. We are doing a state legislative day in January. If you are interested in being part of that, please do not hesitate to contact me, and we will get you involved. We are going to have a 2-day training where you have speakers, you have training, you have everything you need to feel equipped, and then we are going to go into the swing space of our state capitol where we are going to lobby our legislators. Many organizations do this. We're partnering with other parental rights organizations, and we are making the people's voice known. We did this in August with the AB 495 rally. They had over 4,000 people at the Capitol. The day before, we had a lobbying day where we showed up to the Capitol. We sat in the suspense hearing where we were told by the people on the suspense board, don't worry, this law is going into suspense. That is likely where it will die. Don't worry, you'll be fine. We hear all of your concerns. My local lawmaker, my local senator, didn't speak up, did not inform the public that no, that is not where bills go to die. This is where they go to encourage you to back off your efforts while they pass it without your knowledge. They signed that bill into law the evening that Charlie Kirk died. The governor signed it in the middle of the night on a Sunday at the deadline of that bill being signed, hoping nobody in the public would know. If you are doing what is right, why are you doing everything so secretively, right? So the time to act is now. The time to stand up and get involved is now. We are working on getting school board members in every community, your city council. Half of them are electable in 2026. Start in the primary. Many of those decisions are made in the primary. So the time to start is now. Your board of supervisors or county commissioners, I think they're all called supervisors in California. The time to act is now. Your superintendents of public education for your county, the time to act is now. We want every assembly member, every single assembly member is up for either re-election or to be replaced this year. The entire assembly gets wiped clean. We want every single one that was in favor of AB 495, AB 727, and any other piece of legislation that is anti-parental rights and anti-children to be replaced. We need you to act locally. We cannot do that in every district, but if you have somebody that needs exposure, that needs backing, that needs replaced, we will help you. We will give you the tools that you need to run a successful campaign and succeed. That's what we do. My day job, I work in politics daily. I inform my public of what is going on. I sit through every single meeting and I put out a short video so that they know what's going on. We need people doing that in every single community because our uneducated voters are making decisions based on what ad is coming on before their daytime TV show. And we need to educate the public because they are being lied to. I think that's it. I think I'll wrap up there. Oh, I run Mountaintop Media in Northern California.
Please stay here.
Oh, Lisa reminded me. On the transgender issue, we have parents that are fighting and getting defeated in court in California. I have two fathers who are close friends of mine who have lost their court battles and lost access to their children as they are trying to protect their child's God-given gender. God does not make mistakes. No child is born in the wrong body. If you want to medically transition people, it needs to be after the age of 18. We are working with our congressmen and other lawmakers to readdress the fact that the age of consent in the state of California is 12. At the age of 12, your child can kick you out of their medical space. And we are going to try to address that so that no more children are mutilated and permanently sterilized by the transition movement. Unfortunately, one of my friends who is a father who lost access and lost that ability also lost his life to suicide. I pledge to him I will not stop fighting this battle, and I will pray every single day because I have zero power over his daughter's medical decisions, but I have power over prayer, and I will pray every single day that she has an encounter with our Father and realizes that she is fearfully and wonderfully made the way he intended.
Beautiful. Yeah, the innocence of children. So it's game on. So we'd just like to ask, anyone here would like to ask a question from the two women that spoke? Nick?
Yeah, what's going to be the consequences of the federal government closing down the Department of Education? How is that going to help, or is it going to make much of a difference?
Well, that sends the decisions back to the states and the power back to the states. In a state like California, it looks doom and gloom. However, we have Sonia Shaw running for superintendent of public education, and that power coming back to the states means the real power is in your local school boards. They are your closest elected officials. They are the piece of government closest to you. Even if you do not have a child in the school system, you are a stakeholder. You pay taxes in that district, you shop in that district, and that is the future of your community. So elect solid school board members who can combat this craziness, because you can make local policies and ordinances that will combat the state in the way that the state is trying to combat the federal government.
In addition, by dismantling the federal Department of Education, which I can say as a teacher, I never benefited from, my students didn't benefit from, but bureaucracies benefit from. So they tie you up in threats. I remember the Obama threats, and that was weaponized, and that was part of why boys were allowed into girls' sports and bathrooms, and the whole tampon situation. So when we dismantle something, they lose their jobs. They lose influence, power, and prestige, and now those departments are being regulated by people within the Trump administration who have a different vision, who recognize biology.
Luann, please.
Yeah, hi. Lisa, oh, there we go. Thank you. I was listening to an interview just this week regarding the bonds, the school bonds that have been passed throughout the nation, and how in debt pretty much every school district is, and that those bonds that have been passed year after year after year, as you mentioned, aren't being used for the schools, they're being used for other things, but that the debt is so large, but every one of them is the asset backing those debts is our homes, our properties in every county, and that our properties will just be moved in to cover the debts that the districts have accumulated by us voting for their bonds. Are you familiar with that? Any comment on that?
Yeah, I do have a comment. We're very blessed. We have somebody in Contra Costa who's done a deep dive on the monies coming into to districts and the amount of money going out of that pot going to further the educational activities and experiences of students. And there's a lot of money missing. A lot of money missing. And we have noticed that that's kind of consistent across. We have over 900 school districts in California. We're a big state. And these parcel taxes, like I just was up at Sacramento for the California School Board Association Members Conference, which was 3 days in Sacramento. Those hotel rooms were expensive, the flights were expensive, the foods are expensive, and the speakers, and I watched consultant after consultant walk in. And we're very pleased because Beth Bourne of Moms for Liberty for Davis and I had a lot of positive impact and connection with school board members across the state who agree with what Leslie and I are saying, and they're on the move, but they're swamped by the swamp. Okay, the swamp, the cabal. I've always called it a cabal because they have many organizations all dependent on each other to facilitate the lies, the deception, and the removal of your money from your pocket.
Okay.
And quickly on the bond issue, if you go to hermsforcali.com, Louis Herms just put out an entire report on the school bond issue, and he has proof of superintendents who are not qualified to be in those positions being appointed to those positions to pass those bond measures, and he has proof of the mismanagement of the money and the bloated spendings on those. So if you go to hermsforcali.com, he is one of the independents running for governor. He has all of that evidence on his website.
So one more question, David?
Thank you. The legislative day in Sacramento, you mentioned, more details on that, please?
Yes. Where did I put my phone? It is Tuesday and Wednesday. I believe that is January 27th and 28th. You can go to momsforliberty.org, find the nearest Moms for Liberty chapter to you. You can join for free. You can be a free member. If there is not one near you and you know somebody who wants to start one, start one. If not, click on Shasta County and hit the contact us button. It'll go straight to my email. You can also go to anybody here. I'll give you my contact information and my card. But you can go to mountaintopmedia.com and find our socials, comment on any of those, message any of those, and I will get in direct response with you and give you more details. And then you'll be on the email chains as they send those out.
Okay, thank you. All right. So a big hand for Leslie and Lisa.